Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the KMS Quick Shots. My name is Flo, and today I'm super excited to have the Southwest UK-based musicians Ed, Luke, and Piers here. So the trio is better known under Neon Fields. Hi, guys. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Florian.
Hello.
Really good to meet you too.
So for those of us who don't know your band already, do me a favor and walk me through the band history. How did you guys meet?
Well, so I was contacted by you.
Yeah, so I'd been
And
writing some music just by myself for a while and had done some basic demos that I was keen to develop and needed the talents of proper musicians, as I would say. And because all I was doing was recording on my phone and I'd just do the vocals. And so I started trying to track down some proper musicians, and I found Piers first on a website, and then Luke later down the line, and it kind of clicked instantly with the guys, and we started writing together really.
So there was a couple of other people involved and things like that at the beginning, weren't there? But the three of us sort of stayed throughout.
Yeah.
And then it kind of became this a bit later.
Yeah,
in terms of style and everything.
We sort of slowly refined our genre
into
what we are now.
Yeah,
we initially met at the end of 2019, really, and then it was throughout, and then obviously a lot got locked down, the pandemic, COVID, etc. But we continued to work remotely for a lot of that, writing and collaborating and honing our sound. Throughout 2020, really.
I think it's because we were forced to write remotely. It sort of brought out different aspects of the music. I think we were meeting up every week to rehearse previously, and I was just playing guitar. Luke was playing acoustic drums. I was singing. We had a couple of other guys, as I mentioned, some bass, some on keys, and it was only when lockdown happened and we started exploring a much more electronic side of things and sending ideas remotely. And I mean, we didn't meet for almost 6 to 8 months at one point, didn't we?
No, it was crazy. I mean, we were just regularly catching up. Phoning. I was speaking on the phone every day, and then having Zooms and having a beer over Zoom, and maybe the odd just like
it was just sending ideas to one another, really, wasn't it? And quick demos, and being forced to record at home. Like my recording studio at home kind of grew quite significantly. Luke, you invested in so much more kit so you could do that at home.
And mine grew through borrowing Luke's stuff. So Luke kitted me out as well. I think what was really interesting is the music I was writing before finding these guys, and Piers was writing as well. Predominantly, a lot of it had a more electronic sound.
And then we
came together doing more standard rehearsals, and it was kind of becoming more of a rock sound, and traditional instruments really. And then what lockdown caused was us to kind of not be able to do that anymore, and to come back around to being more electronic again.
Yeah, it was really fun practicing with real instruments and stuff. It certainly pushed us all as musicians, but I think that the songs the way we were interpreting some of the songs weren't quite as keen on that as we are now.
Did you guys originate from other bands before you got together?
So I was in a two-piece electronic band with no vocalist called Nine Borders, and that kind of fell apart, and I got on the other member who was doing a lot of the electronic stuff, and I was mainly playing guitar for it. He had to go on a contract to London, and it kind of fell apart, and so I got on a website over here called Bandmix, which you basically join it if you want to join a band or are looking for people to join your band, and you were on that, and you had sent me a message saying, hey, check out these demos, and it all went into my junk folder, and I remember seeing it about 2 weeks later and listening to the demos and thinking, this is actually, because I got contacted quite a fair bit saying, do you want to be in this project? And I had actually gone to see a couple of those people, but nothing really interested me very much. And then your demos really interested me, and it was the one message I ignored for 2 weeks, and I was really gutted. And so luckily I got in touch with you, and you hadn't have found another guitarist at the time, so we did meet in the end. But yeah, I was in something which kind of fell apart. Yeah, which is a shame, but it was quite nice that I was so available to do this. And then Luke, you're in.
I was in a band like 15 years ago, and
Yeah.
it doesn't even need to be brought up. But basically, I hadn't really done anything musically until early 2018. I hadn't for a long time, and then I realized through the wonders of GarageBand on my phone that I could start writing again, and not and just having a bit of a dabble that turned into more serious demos and songs, etc. So
and Luke, you're still in loads of projects, really.
Well, I was a guitarist in a band with someone who played drums with you for a little while, and then met through that, which is a weird way of approaching a new band, but it worked out.
Yeah,
you're a better drummer, mate.
Yeah, better drummer than a guitarist. I won't deny that.
So what made you hang up the guitar and put with the sticks instead?
Oh, I was already to be honest, I probably shouldn't have been a guitarist in the other band. I'm not a great guitarist. Drums is my main instrument, but the other one was more of a laugh.
Similar to me, because I was, I think 25 years ago, I was the singer and guitarist of a grunge band, and I shouldn't have done that either. So later I found out, okay, I'm into the rhythm kind of thing, and every time we didn't practice or rehearse, I was asking the drummer if I could use his drum set while they were gone, and that made me a drummer at the end of the road. So I know this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I had the opposite story where I always ask Luke if I can have a go on his drums, and I'm terrible. I'm the world's worst drummer, and so
you never know until you try.
I don't ask anyone to borrow their instruments because I know I can't do anything. So.
Just microphones.
Yeah,
exactly.
So this kind of answers partly my next question. Does any of you have classic training in what he does?
I'm not classically trained, but I've been playing guitar for almost 20 years now, and I was always really keen on music composition, and I didn't even do music GCSE because it just wasn't very fun in school.
Oh, I did. So
yeah, so we got that covered.
I'm
more qualified
more
than I am. Yeah, but I found I started teaching guitar about 9 years ago, and I hugely brushed up on my theory and really enjoyed it, and kind of found a different passion to playing it. And often I would just read about theory and music in a much wider context. And so certainly not qualified in any way, but yeah, I do my best to keep on top of theory as much as I can. And I don't know how much it helps, but it certainly. I enjoy knowing about it and doing my best to kind of applying it and knowing it. I find are two very separate things. But
certainly not qualified, he says, and you guys put out tracks like these.
I was about to say, Florian, the hilarious thing with Piers is that when I found him on Bandmix, his profile said that he was an intermediate guitarist, and I almost was like,
did it?
Yeah.
Oh,
and there were loads of people I'd looked at that said, "Oh, expert guitarist," and when I saw intermediate, I was like, "Well, I'll send him an email anyway." Turns out he's a guitar teacher and very good at guitar.
A
so
humble
he's just
one,
modest,
obviously.
Yeah, exactly. So, whereas I'd obviously put expert at everything on my
nice.
notes.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Entice people in.
So Ed, what about you? Did you have lessons to sing?
I did have some singing lessons at school. I seem to remember actually that I was booked in to do my grade 5 singing exam at school, and then I forgot to turn up, and then for some reason the woman that was teaching me didn't really want to teach me anymore. So I think that was how that went. Yeah. So no, not classically trained or anything. I used to I'd done some singing in some like shows when I was a kid and stuff, and just perform. I was in a band for a bit as the lead singer, but no, really not classically trained at all.
Okay.
Still hit the notes though.
Well, yeah, occasionally.
Sometimes.
So I got to run this through again. We got a guitar teacher who is the only one who does this instrument for a long time, but not the synth. We talk about that later. We got a singer who hasn't got any classes throughout the last 10 to 15 years. And we got a guitarist that now is a drummer slash percussionist who hasn't got any drumming slash percussionist lessons, right?
Oh no, I started out as a drummer. So
Okay.
I was a bit confusing earlier. So I've always been a drummer, and I did have some lessons to start with, but not for a long time. I'm mostly self-taught.
Is it that you thought guitarists were more popular, and so you thought you'd give that a go?
And it was just my friends were looking for a guitarist,
Nice.
and I said to them, I can play some bar chords, and they said that's good enough.
Yeah. Often is.
But,
In the band I was in, I did play guitar and piano.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't claim to be able to play any instruments, and that's the safest way to be with me.
Yeah.
So.
I think he's quite modest, though.
We all wanted to be musicians because of the girls, right? So no, but you're telling me, since you guys play together, no one has any experience, any lessons or any kind of musical training so far. You just do this on your own, you're experimenting on your own, and you develop this kind of sound from scratch.
Yeah, I'd say
More or
it was
less,
fairly
yeah.
accurate. Yeah, it's quite nice.
Some of it comes down to I work as a sound engineer, and so I'm quite technical.
Yeah.
And so a lot of our kind of technical side, especially when it comes to us rehearsing and with the aim of playing live music, a lot of it's come from that as well. So there's a lot of tinkering at band practices.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So there's happy songs out there, there's sad songs, and you guys create, I'd say, intense songs. So where does this intensity originate from? So what's that about? Is this a thing you guys just develop as a group, or does this is this kind of a songwriting thing one develops and presents to the other ones?
I definitely think it's a sort of something we all do.
Yeah,
but have found it in different ways. It's kind of funny.
It's not intended, really, is it?
No, well, it's really funny because I, for years, tried to. I was sort of, my understanding of music was it either sounds happy or kind of sad, and it's sort of major or minor. And I was finding that every time I tried to, because I was trying to write darker music all the time and push it in that direction. And I found that I wasn't writing dark, almost sinister or thrilling music. I was writing sad and music that was almost melancholy. And so and I thought that it must be that I wasn't adding enough things in there. So I tried sort of more chord theory and adding more notes in and more layers. And it was only actually when I realized, by listening to a few other amazing artists who I found through the electronic scene, that it was about adding far less and sort of keeping the tonal palette quite basic, but then building layers using that tonality that I found that we could create this, that I could create this kind of dark stuff. And then with you were writing kind of sinister music already.
Yeah, I tend to lean towards the sinister, and I think my voice kind of lends itself to it a bit as well, and I probably just have naturally write intense vocals, I guess. So, you know, not through any kind of, we have to write like this, but it just, I have a tendency for the intense, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think, Luke, I think you also massively helped in terms of sort of helping both of us understand where to sort of clear out certain layers and how jam-packed a song could be before that was too much, and where like good mixing, for example, could allow for more in the final product. And there's some sort of parts in the songs that I actually forget about once it's kind of finally produced, and it's only when we're like looking through the live playback, or you're sending our stems to someone else to remix, do I then get to go back and listen to some of the individual components. And they might be really tiny, but on their own they're massively happy. There's one piano patch on the newest single that sounds like it's from a Disney film. You know, it's just a piano patch, and it sounds really dreamy and really, really happy.
Yeah.
But in the context of everything else, darkening it up, it doesn't sound like that at all anymore. So I think musical context was a really big lesson from this band, and understanding how something on its own might sound happy, but when it's mixed in with a whole load of other layers. And I think with this band is so much fun that we can add in such an enormous amount of instrumentation. And
I think the way we had to write plays a big factor in that as well.
Yeah.
Where a lot of this was written sort of during lockdown. The start of it would usually come from Piers, and then I would get demos sent across to me to put drums over. So that's why like songs like Light Them Up is the way they are, because I get something that sounds super intense and sort of soundscapey, and I go, well, I can't really just put any kind of drums over this. So that's why the huge kind of do stuff,
the tribal stuff,
the tribal stuff, and then it kind of builds from there. And it's a similar story with a lot of it.
Light Them Up was already sounding quite big, and then you got it, and then the drums went on it, and it was like, you know, it properly blew my mind.
It was amazing, so really, because I mean, Light Them Up's probably a really good example of how the writing went, where you sent me that clip of the first verse, and I didn't know what I was going to write the lyrics about and the vocals about, but the voice synth that you had in there, it did feel like it was voices in your head, and I wanted to in the vocal melodies and lyrics I was writing there, try and capture that, but give space to those little highlights that you'd put in already, because it kind of, you know, the theme was almost already there, or when I heard it, that was how I interpreted it. So I then wrote the vocals over the verse, and then we did eventually get to meet up and write the chorus kind of together.
Yeah, that was the first time we met up and we did the chorus.
It was almost a novel thing to do, to be in the same room and start writing a section of a song together. It was almost an alien thing by that point.
But what was strange though is a lot of the bands I really enjoyed used really weird time signatures and polyrhythms and all this crazy timing stuff. And you wrote lyrics to Light Them Up's verse before Luke put drums on there. And then now when we actually play it, Ed needs a different click because he's slightly out of time with the actual beat of the song.
Yeah, and I interpreted his ding 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 ding.
Yeah, you come in on the two and on the one,
and wrote my vocals to that, and then Luke came along and completely elevated the track with the drums. That it's funny that the drums were the last bit that were added.
Clever.
Yeah,
like
so
complete accident. It's
actually there's actually a bit in the first verse, right at the end of it, where I actually switch from one click to another.
The actual click.
To the what they think is the actual click, but actually is the incorrect click, because the one I use is the correct click, obviously. And the drummer just wanted to be a bit different, I think.
If you think it's the right click, you should try drumming to it or playing anything to it.
I would, but I don't want Luke to feel like he couldn't do it.
I have done that, by the way. It's horrible.
It's tough.
Anyway.
Ed doing his own thing as usual, I think, is the summary.
Having his own path.
So one big part of all of your tracks is the intensity, the dark vibe lurking in the shadow kind of thing, and the huge storytelling aspect. So you don't write about the weather or some shale emotions or something like this. It's always a very unique way of telling a story, like in your actual release Collisions, where this asteroid thing comes into the place. So the question is, what makes you come up with this kind of stories?
Well, I think so the track Collisions started off as a soundscape that Piers had composed, and you'd named it Collisions.
Yeah, it was already kind of, I did a 2-track EP at the beginning of lockdown when I couldn't meet with our band at the time. And I thought, well, I'm gonna practice, using Ableton and stuff, and came up with 2 songs, both of which now we've repurposed for 2 of the tracks on the EP.
One is Collisions and the other one's
one
Bleak.
of them. And so you already had the kind of name of the track. Not that I was thinking of an asteroid thing. I'm
No,
not
but I
clever
mean,
enough to write that narrative.
well,
But yeah,
with collisions though, you know, it obviously punches in like there's something,
yeah,
like there's a bombardment. So again, it was listening to the soundscapes and instrumentation that Piers had created, and also in fact the fact they had named it collisions, which I found interesting straight away. But when I'm writing vocal melodies, I just kind of improvise over the track that's there, the instrumentals, and you know, start to carve out what the words that sound right with melodies, etc., that I like, and you know, it did start taking form as an asteroid speaking in the first person about its imminent collision with Earth, and it was just an interesting concept.
Is it just the way of you being a great storyteller, or where do these exact stories, like light them up or the collisions, come from? Because I'm searching for the answer. Is this part of who you are, what you feel, or is it just a way that you sit down and say, okay, I want to tell a great story today, and it'll be the asteroid thing. The collisions could also have been two cars hitting each other or something like this. So why the asteroid? And
I think not that I write many.
guys, if you hear me, we just got interrupted here. Wait a second until the signal is back on.
No worries. Yeah, you're not moving, so it should be.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Perfect. Now we're back. So starting with the last question again.
Yeah. So not that I write many of the lyrics, because that's mainly your responsibility. But I think all three of us are quite keen to avoid cliches, and we all have input on everything. And I think that's a wonderful thing, is that no idea is kind of turned away. It's certainly all put on the table, and we all discuss it, and we're quite open with what we enjoy and don't enjoy. And none of us are really keen to.
Well, personally,
I'm sing about something pointless. But
I'm never precious of lyrics either, or the
No.
story, and I'm always keen that I
We've
get
changed
input
ideas
from you
halfway
guys
through.
as well. Like, do you like this, you know, verse, or do you like this concept even for a song? And I want it to be ours, including the lyrics. You know, just because I'm the one singing it, I think it should be, you know, a message that we all like, and equally, if you know, if Piers had written something where I thought, oh, maybe it could be like this, or Luke thought, you know, we give input on each other's parts, really.
But I think what's nice about that is that we don't necessarily, you know, I think we've only got one song in the EP which is written about perhaps how we are feeling, but it was about how one might feel in a lockdown scenario, and the lyrics were ambiguous enough that someone could interpret it to something different. So it wasn't being on the nose, you know, that it was about the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, I'm stuck in my house and I can't do this.
And,
it's a metaphor.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I'm much more excited about the concept. And again, I don't do a lot of this, and it's just mostly your work. But I'm much more excited about the concept of writing about a character or a theme, or writing it, because the instrumentation is quite cinematic. So I think you've interpreted it all as a very cinematic theme.
You know, the reason for, I guess, choosing asteroids and something, you know, there's often something a bit kind of stellar and space-like in some of the work you do, but also it was just, there was a lot of drama to the song already, and I think that's, you know, the inspiration came from that. I mean, I quite like when there's a bit of a twist in a song. We've got another one that we're finishing off at the moment that will be on the album eventually. That, you know, I like it when it takes an unexpected turn in the lyrics, or you weren't expecting, or even just play on words. I like, you know, is it are you referring to something raining down, or is it the rain of almost like a monarch, or you know, that, like, play on words and two meanings for what it could be, etc. I find fun.
I think it grants us a lot more freedom about writing about something completely fictitious. So I think I think all three of us are quite introverted in that way, that we don't really like to sing about ourselves very much, and how we're feeling. But if you write about a character, like Light Them Up is about, you know, someone who was sort of paranoid schizophrenic, for example, and again, it's open to interpretation. I've heard different people's interpretations of it.
It's the same with writers, I guess. So if you have writers, they come up with a story. They are not schizophrenics or something like this, but they are able to transmit this exact story through words. And with you guys, it's even more so transmitting it with the whole atmospheric scenario. So that's if you got presented an idea, I think you guys managed somehow to refine that into a wholesome story. And as for me, I think it's a huge kind of working process to get to the point where this leads. But I think if the chemistry is right, it's not so much work as I expect it to be.
Yeah. Can I just say as well, Ed does have a remarkable ability to just pull narrative from the actual sound of the track.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah,
It's something that still kind of amazes me, just how he can sort of listen and you.
I think though that's just a testament to the track itself, where it's almost easy to find what the story might be because of the sounds that are there already, and like with Light Them Up, as I say, the voices that you can kind of hear almost echoing in your head, where it kind of makes sense to then make it about someone that's hearing that. And so
yeah, it's interesting to see where you're gonna, when both of you are gonna take it. You know, if you write this ditty almost, it's always interesting to see the interpretation of it later. And that's the other really fun thing is that some things I wrote, and I wrote them as sort of complete lead hooks, and then later the song gets released, and by the time it's gone through revisions of us, mixed, mastered, everything, those big main hooks are right in the background, and there's something else now, and the song's taking a different meaning on, and the dynamics changed, and and that's another thing is we don't mind sort of if the chorus, for example, is the lowest bit in the song and not the biggest bit that has the most harmonic content. Sometimes the chorus is the most stripped back section, and again, it's a lot of freedom.
I think
I seem to mind us taking liberties with
I think the other thing we tend to be quite free with is structure itself, in that we're not doing verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, or anything like that. In general, they're all.
You don't like linear constructs at all, I guess.
I mean, I because obviously one thing that we've heard is some of the songs are a bit long as well. I mean, Light Them Up is a perfect example. It's a long track, but when we've looked at where we would trim it down prior to releasing it in its whole form, there's nothing we wanted to leave out, and that is a bit more conventional in structure. In it is verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, or whatever, but it's just long sections. Whereas Collisions, for example, or and
Collisions
some of the ones
more
coming
orchestral in the way that
it
works.
That was more a orchestral composition, almost like and that's why it ended up the way it did vocally as well.
It's quite tough. We've been not so much criticized, but we have been sort of told several times by people, oh, it'd be really nice to sort of hear that part again. And every time we've tried to drop it in and do a new version of a song, which I find it quite difficult to trim our songs down to the perfect 3.5 minutes. The pop holy grail type thing. I find that quite challenging. And every time I've duplicated a section, maybe this is more about our music than the way music should be, but I find it really boring when it does that. And I found now that I've gone back and listened to songs which still massively inspire me, and they're incredibly good, and they're massively successful bands, but still I've questioned why they felt the need to repeat themselves so frequently and
not kind of change up the section. I mean, I guess at least in Light Them Up, for example, the second chorus is an octave higher than the first, and so there's a whole change. Even though it's repeating it, it's a whole different feel to the chorus.
But structurally, I think one thing that we don't want to fall into is writing everything like a wedge, and it starts small and then it gets massive at the end. And all of Oblique follows that structure. I think a good 5 out of the 6 tracks on the EP kind of follow that structure. And I don't know if that kind of, I'm really intrigued to see when someone listens to something consecutively, which is going to be a new experience for us, because typically we've had single releases and we've been on playlists and people who listen to one song and that's the song they like. And it's a real pleasure to hear that that's someone's favorite and then that's someone else's favorite. That's really nice. But when someone listens to a whole EP or an album, that's going to be intriguing.
Yeah.
If they don't get a little bit like doing this sort of ratcheting up through the album, is going to it's going to get a bit tiresome. But I hope it doesn't. But yeah, we need to serve the album as well as the song, which is a new goal for us, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, so far they have been singles, and they've been entities that have been worked on. You know, it's not, oh, these are all going to be almost a collection of tracks. It's no, this is a piece we're working on now. It's this piece, and it is lovely, as Piers says. I mean, we've had amazing feedback from people, and we've massively appreciated it. It's not been, you know, every time anyone says, "Oh, I love this," or, you know, "I love what you've done here," or whatever, it just means so much. But
Great,
what's great is you get someone that says, "Oh, that one is my favorite. I love that one," and then another one that says, "Oh, that," you know, it's not everyone likes the same song. You know, there's people that, you know, they have their different favorites, and in a way, that's the best thing, really, because if you've got, you know, each one of the songs is someone's favorite, then that feels like we're doing something right.
Well, I think we have our different favorites as well, which is quite good.
I mean, I prefer Luke to Piers, for example.
Yeah,
so, you know,
yeah, exactly that. Me too.
Yeah, I prefer myself.
And it's not just because it's so hard to play one track over the other, but it's just you get used to several things in a song, and you can relate to that. So I always found your storytelling aspects and the whole song, like you mentioned, the 3.5 minutes, forget about that, because you can do so much with tension and energy if you're not confined to, oh, we got to pack all of this into 3.5 minutes. So you guys tend to put something eyebrow raising in there before the song ends, in not in every song, but in several songs. And when you listen to that, you're just like, okay, the song's coming to an end, everything is relaxing, and then it's boom, and you think like, okay, the song wasn't over yet. Wow. And that's exactly, I guess, what you guys were aiming for, and it works every single time. As I said it before to you, Ed, you're the first on the blog that I reviewed every track you sent me, because it's just, it tells something to the people. It's not just the happy everyday stuff, but it needs to be, I'd say, consumed in the right environment, so to speak. You cannot just sit down there in the morning, just gotten up and on your way to work and say, okay, let's listen to Collisions. It won't work in the car stuck in traffic. You need the headphones, you need time and the space. And this is one of your strong suits, I think, guys, that you just are able to form this whole universe of sound and effect in this.
Well, thank you. That's really kind of you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dream reading your reviews, really, because it just it's so nice to read words like that about our tracks, where it's been interpreted in such a thoughtful way and a deep way. And you know, I think, I appreciate that.
Just a small way to say thank you for creating such the tracks. So what's next for you guys with the whole COVID thing happening over the past years for now? Are there any gigs planned, any live gigs?
I think I'll hand over to Luke on how we're actually going to do this.
Well, so there's nothing in the calendar as such, but it's what we're...
Yeah, we've got some ideas.
I think that we've been so lucky accumulating some fans without gigging. The majority of them as well are overseas, in continental Europe, Canada, South America, and the US. And so I'm trying to think of the best way that we can accommodate ourselves sensibly, do something which is gonna benefit us and gain us more fans, but also pay back fans who have really gotten behind us. We seem to have a small pocket of fans who are so dedicated and brilliant and listen to everything and like message us personally, and it's really lovely.
It's been amazing.
It's been really, really cool. And and the only way I can think, well, the only way we've all discussed is paying people back on that kind of scale is to do a live stream gig. I think, but again, I'll divert to Luke on how we're going to
Yeah.
how we're going to do that.
The dream would be to travel around and play to all of these people live, and one day we hope that'll be the case. But
yeah, realistically, with us having the setup we have, we think the best way, rather than starting off like a lot of bands where you have like a little gig in a small venue to kick off your EP or something like that, we're thinking somewhere a little down the road, we try and do a live stream with a little more production, trying to make something out of it. And that way, all of the people that have started following us sort of around the globe sounds a little bit pretentious, but it kind
it's
of
just
is.
the nature of the
we've
internet and social
shipping
media
out
allows
merchandise
it.
to Australia and Canada and the US. I'm not saying it's tons of people, but it's a really great pocket of people who are really dedicated. So I think that is the nicest thing to do in a way.
Hopefully this is something we can make happen. I'm in talks at the moment, but no promises, but hopefully sometime soon.
I think the main thing to say really is that through the nature of the lockdowns, we've been massively fortunate that we've been able to continue to collaborate and write and record, release. We're all recording from home, as we say, so we can keep creating the music, but we haven't been able to meet up to rehearse until very recently, really, and to prepare for a live performance. And so that's something. I mean, we were really keen with our video for Light Them Up. To do that as a performance video, to be on stage and give people an idea of what our live performance might look like, our on stage performance. Obviously, it wasn't live, but our on stage performance and that kind of energy that we might try and bring to a show. And a lot of that was because we knew we weren't going to be able to play any shows anytime soon because of the lockdown. We wanted to introduce ourselves in that kind of way.
Exactly.
Well, although I think it's possible as well, like none of these songs were when I've written guitar pieces, I'm sure when you've written drum pieces and stuff like that, and indeed when you've done vocals with previous bands, the goal is to take it to rehearsal, and that's how we were before lockdown. And we'd bring ideas to rehearsal and play them for the first time there, and they'd be in their complete form and they'd be practiced at varying degrees depending on how soon we wrote them close to rehearsal. None of these songs were written with playing them perfectly to one another live. They were built up layers and layers and layers and almost crafted like ambient music.
And
so
DJ.
there's playing these tracks and recording these tracks, which is fantastic, but we need to learn how to play them live, I think, and we did that with Light Them Up in the music video. And again, thanks to Luke's technical prowess more than anything else. But it is learning to play our own music. Genuinely is a challenge.
I mean, we have been rehearsing many weeks recently, and we have been playing everything, so we're not kind of but we're it's kind of almost a new thing for us to be preparing for live performances, and it's going well, but as I say, there's nothing booked yet. The main thing is continuing to release the music. We've just got the EP that we mentioned, and that's our first physical piece of our music that's been on pre-sale, and we're really grateful that people have been buying that up prior to it even being manufactured, and then now they're available to be shipped out to people. It's great, and then we're just continuing to write.
So
I mean, that's the main thing. Just keep on writing.
Yeah, so I think the live stream gig depends on Luke's abilities to make it happen. So
yes,
and
we have faith in him. It's only Luke that's
I'm glad you
happen.
No pressure at all, but do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be fine.
I'm sure
so last question for the night would be, you mentioned a new track in the making earlier. When's that going to happen? Is there a date set yet, or is it finished yet in the raw draft version?
Well, so I mean, our next release, that's the final track on the EP, is out on the 22nd of October. But then the one we were referring to, which would be track 7, which essentially will be the first, moving into the album.
Yeah.
Because the 6 tracks that are on the EP will also be on the album. But so this So we're at a point where our the guy we have mixing our tracks, who's also an incredibly talented guy, and we're lucky to be working with him. It has already sent his first bounce of that back to us, and we're refining that mix at the moment. So we're excited about that track. I think it's
yeah, that should be cool. I think this one might be. I mean, I might be proven wrong, but I think this one will be the flagship going forward.
Yeah.
And again, the flagship was different for all of us on the EP tracks, but
it's nice that all three of us are quite excied about this track.
This one will take over a bit, and
you guys are really good in teasing. I just found out.
Well, I think I wanted to say this earlier actually when you mentioned about the intensity and because this track in particular, the one we're referring to, I felt like, oh, it's done. It sounds great the way it is, and Piers said, oh no, I feel like we need another shade in there. We need some more something
really
to change it up,
yeah.
and then added the most incredible section that just elevates it completely, and the drums that Luke is doing on it are incredible, are amazing, and so it kind of, to the testament of these guys, I felt like, oh no, it's already sounding like a really good single.
I've never seen Luke move so quickly.
And then the drums that he's playing in this are just insanely chaotic.
I'm gonna have to.
You need to limber up
more,
for
I
it.
think.
Yeah, that's what I mean by learning to play our own songs.
Well, this is it. I've got a lot of big vocals to get through in a gig as well. That's something that concerns me. I give quite a lot of in some of the tracks there's a lot of big vocals. So
yeah,
we'll have to see with this new track. I mean, there's not a lot of opportunities for me to do some really fast drumming with this band, but this one is one of those songs where you definitely need to warm up beforehand.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to get a fire extinguisher on his drums like immediately afterwards. It's just
like a Who gig all of a sudden.
Yeah.
All right.
Now massaging Luke and making sure he's okay. Physio.
Now I'm really curious about that. So you told me that before the year is over, we got 2 more tracks coming up with you guys.
I would say
the last one of the physical EP, and the first one of the album, so to speak.
Yeah. So the jury is out on how we're releasing that last track. There is some demand for vinyl as well. A couple of people have got in touch with that. That's a new thing for us.
Yeah, there's lots of people, passionate about owning vinyl. The interesting thing there, and I know a lot of bands are finding this, with COVID, I believe in particular,
and
the lead time
and
demand. Yeah, the lead times are crazy, aren't they? It's 6 months.
I think if we place an order now for a vinyl, we'll get it in March.
Yeah.
So but we'll find some way of delivering that. But we've always been we've kept a really sort of, we've had some subscribers who subscribe on the website and things, and they've been with us from day dot since we named the band. And we've always been as generous as we possibly can be with putting the music up there.
Yeah, I mean, certainly
all EP tracks are up there.
Yeah, if someone subscribes to our mailing list, then they essentially have access to all our music as soon as it's ready. So, for example, the one that's out on the 22nd of October will be available to our VIP subscribers in the next couple of days because it's ready. So
they've always got pre-releases.
Yeah. So, and that's just, we want to incentivize. I mean, it's free for people to subscribe to us. It's not, it's nothing I have to pay for, but we just want to incentivize people kind of backing us and joining in, and we appreciate it. So
yeah, definitely. But so we'll hopefully find something to do there. But
it's lovely that people are also buying the EP, buying T-shirts, etc., which is the best way to support us and kind of give back in a way for being able to listen to our music essentially for free, is to support us by buying something as well. So.
Which has been great. I mean, a lot of people have.
Oh, it's brilliant because we love what we're doing. We absolutely love it, and so to be enjoying what we're doing, and then having people say, "Well, we're enjoying what you're creating," and it's just a dream. It's great. So
that's one way why I do the blog, because it's one way to give back something, to support, even not with money, but with the reaction of this, with spreading the word, with with the criticism behind that. It's just that's where the slogan "I'm listening" comes from, essentially, because you got tons of music out there. You cannot even click through every new release of one country a day because there are so many. But the thing is just to give something back, to let the artist know we're here, we're listening. It's important what you do. That's a big part of I guess what the artists out there appreciate in the end. So of course the monetary aspect as well, but with COVID and no gigs and not having the ordinary ways of supporting bands, this is one of the things I guess that's important. Why you guys should definitely do the live stream gig, because I cannot fly over there to attend a gig in person.
Well, that's exactly why we want to try and do it.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
And hopefully soon enough we will be coming over to Germany and playing live as well.
That's one of my biggest goals is to go to Germany.
We want to travel and play.
I think you'll have to take the families with you, so they won't let you just go away for months.
Drag along the kids.
It's not the families I'm worried about, it's the amount of equipment we need.
It's the track.
All I need is a microphone, so I'm okay.
I have a box.
I think as long as everyone carries their own stuff, that's fine. I think that's what's fair.
Luke, pay for your things to go over. I think we might have to get a van to go to Berlin. Or a
shipping
coach.
in the container.
We're all
put the kids in there.
The kids aren't dead.
What's good is we all together fit on a pallet, so we'll just get delivered to
handle with care.
Exactly.
This way up.
All right.
Fragile. Just be careful. Exactly.
Guys, thank you so much for meeting me tonight. It was a pleasure meeting you and getting to know you and learn something about your work. Guys out there, if you want to know more about Neon Fields and their work, please make sure to check out the socials. You'll see the handles at the end of this video. That's all I have to say for now. And this is it with the interview. Stay safe and see you soon. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brent.
Thanks.